Keep this theme going on how to be a great coach. Today's going to be on getting your mindset right. So, going into the season, I want you guys to think about having the right goals and having the right focal points to get those goals. Okay. So, right off the bat, I do want to win more than anything. I'm not going to try to act like that's not what I want. I definitely want to win. Okay. But focusing on the wins is not going to get me the wins. All right. Now, let me share a story with you guys about when I started coaching at Volitude when I was 18 years old. All I wanted to be was a millionaire. It's like, what am I going to do to become a millionaire? What am I going to do? I'm going to go do this job. I'm going to go do this job. And on all my paths on being selfish and focusing on what I wanted, it led me nowhere. I didn't get any closer to getting that goal. The only job that I kept over all those years of trying different jobs, it was like 6 years in. I was like, man, I've quit every other job that I've had. It didn't make me happy focusing on just getting the money. And I wasn't getting as much money as I wanted, being singular and just focusing on myself. It's like, well, what if I change my approach? I'm sure I watched some kind of YouTube video that motivated me to think this way. It's like, what if I changed my approach? What if instead of focusing on making $1 million, what if I focused on helping 1 million people? Because if I can't do it, I can't do it alone. But if I get 1 million people to be like, man, were super helpful. You really made me feel like a better person. You've impacted my life. They find value in me and they're willing to give me just $1, then I would have $1 million. It's like, okay, so I need to change. If this is what I want, I need to change my focal point away from the end goal and onto the how to, right? So this was generically where I started, and then over the time I realized, that's not even the important part, right? Getting the $1 million isn't the important part. And I know some of us might be thinking like, yeah, that's easy to say, right? Like, but I need money, right? I need money. But you can't focus on that or it'll never come. You need to focus on what it is that you want to do. And I know this sounds weird, but you need to focus in on what is it that you want to do? How do you want to serve? How do you want to help people? And in return, you'll see the financial gain, the financial gains. The people will see your value and they'll be willing to pay for that value. But if you just focus on that and you don't actually use skill to help people or to create something that helps people, then it won't happen. Okay? So let's now turn this back into volleyball, right? So I want to win more than anything is the end goal. But focusing on the win and some things happen such as you get upset with kids and you're like you need to be better, faster. You look at them as like they suck, they're never going to win. You're never going to win. You get me? You have to change the goal into like the how to. And then when you stop actually caring about what you thought was the goal and started caring about what should be the goal, this one starts to come. Okay? So here, how do we end up winning more without focusing on winning more? All right, these are my big focal points when it comes to the kids, right? I'm going to jump down here real fast before talking about this. I don't win games because I talk about winning them. I focus on winning over the players' hearts and minds, and in return, we win games. Now, how do I win over their hearts and minds? I focus on these things. I want to teach life skills through the game of volleyball. I want to make you more confident. I want to make you more disciplined. I want to make you feel like you have a purpose. I want you to feel like you can overcome adversity. I want to create athletes that love the game that I love. I want them to feel, like I said, passionate for something. I want them to feel a burning desire to care about something the way that I do. I want to create relationships that'll outlive me. I show up thinking, not every day, but I have days where I'm like, I need this to be bigger than me. I want to know that if I were to die, people would speak well about me. They would say, man, he was a great coach. He really made me feel like he cared about me. He really made me into the person that I am today. And I'm very grateful that he was in my life. And then I want them to go out and want to teach other people how to be better people. And then that just continues on a chain that will outlive me for, you know, let's just say for the sake of dramatization, like hundreds of years, right? Like people will just constantly be becoming better people based off of the small pebble that I dropped in the lake of life, right? And then last but not least, this pushes me to be the best coach that I can, right? I want to be known as the greatest developmental coach of all time. I really think about this like, man, I want to be so good at teaching people how to get better at volleyball that people all over the world will watch my content or something because it just it's so good that everybody is getting better based off of watching it, and it's super comprehensible, and I just know so much about how to do very little things, or I know how to make them simple, right? So this is a huge goal, and it's not even completely realistic because how can you be known as the greatest, right? Like there's never like a single one, right? There's everyone's going to have different variations of what they're the best at. But it's not supposed to be realistic. It's just supposed to be a motivator for me to be able to win over the players' hearts and minds. If they see that I'm constantly pushing to try to be the best in my head, it's gonna rub off on them. And in multiple ways, they're gonna see my purpose and my desire to get better and my drive, and they're going to use that. But also the knowledge that I'm sharing with them by pushing myself to learn more is going to help them become better volleyball players, and they're going to see that me being an expert in my field is going to help them win over their heats, their hearts, and their minds. And in return, by doing all these things, they're going to have better mindsets. They're going to be better volleyball players. They're not going to be super focused on the win, but on how to become better. And we're going to win games by doing that instead of focusing on how to win them or just on winning them. I need to win them. No, no, no. The focus is going to be on doing all these other things, right? We don't care about the wins, right? Where our goals are to become better people. Our goals are to become better in general at the game. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some, but let's just focus on getting better. And having that mindset will have us win more games, okay? So, how do we do that? How, as a coach, do I do that? Now, this little section here was thought of because of a question I was asked with the academies. And if you've never done the academies at Apollo, it can be stressful because the kids aren't always engaged. Half of them don't want to be there, especially in the younger kids. You can tell mom or dad sign them up for the class, and they're just not there, right? And it's not their fault. And we have to change our way of looking at them because they just don't love the game yet, and we do. So we kind of get frustrated with that relationship. Like, man, I'm pouring my heart into trying to get you to be good, and you just don't care. You don't want to be here. I don't want to teach you now because of the way that your attitude is, and we're just looking at this class in the wrong perspective. And I had somebody come up to me while teaching the academies, and they're like, "How do you do it? Like, it's so hard and so stressful. Like, how are you like pushing through teaching this class?" And when I thought about it, it's like, well, it's these four things right here. Number one, I'm just super passionate about the game, right? The way that I speak about it, I just love to talk about it. I love to teach it, especially to somebody that doesn't know the things that I know. I love to see them light up when something clicks and they're like, oh, when you said that, I was able to do this. Like, I'm just super passionate about that. And you got to have that right out the gate, okay? Number two is you have to be genuine, right? We've already talked about the goal being changed. My goal is not that these kids in the academy become super good, right? They don't even love the game yet, which is something that we're going to talk about afterwards. Step number one needs to be that they learn to love the game. And I'm over here worried about them being really good at the game. It's like, no, 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 this is wrong. They need to first love the game. So I need to be genuine and like super happy when they have very small wins, right? Because one thing that we learned about wins when it came to our serotonin levels was that if you win once, you're more likely to win again, right? So how as a coach can I create that? Well, I could be genuinely happy when they make small wins. For me, if I'm teaching a little kid how to play volleyball and they learn how to throw a ball over the net, I am ecstatic, right? I'm just so happy. They weren't able to throw a ball over the net before, and through me teaching them these couple of steps, now they're able to throw a ball over the net, right? They couldn't do that before, and now they can. That is huge, right? That's small progress. And if I make a big deal about it and I genuinely am happy about it, they will be too. And that'll slowly start to get this ball rolling of winning small wins that end up later helping them win bigger wins. But if I don't make a big deal about it, if I don't show them that it's a win, they're never going to see this this growth process and this understanding that it's going to take time and it's going to be small progresses. It's going to be small pieces of progress as we go along, right? And that takes empathy to be genuine about what we're talking about right now, right? I try to picture these little kids, right? They're probably terrified of me, right? I get told a lot from them that I'm intimidating, and I don't see it. I'm like, man, I'm super nice and goofy. Like, how am I intimidating to these kids? But I can totally picture, looking from their height up at me and me hitting the volleyball and like being terrified. Like, man, this is a whole new world that they have never been a part of. They probably don't even want to be there right now. And I have to be okay with that. I have to understand that they don't love the game. And it's my job to teach them to love the game, right? So I have to be super understanding and empathetic. Like, this is this terrified little kid coming into this gym who does not know what to expect, and I have complete control over what happens next. If I'm super hard on them and super mean, they might not ever want to come back. But if I create a fun, engaging environment where they feel like they're winning based off of doing small little things and I'm building up their confidence, this now becomes a home for them. Like, wow, when I go here, I become a better person. I feel better about myself. They might not be saying it in those words, but they will internally be like, when I go there, I feel good. I want to go there more. And in return, that's going to create a relationship where they end up loving volleyball. So I'm going to be empathetic. I'm going to understand where they're coming from. Even if they're being punks to me, I'm going to let it go and I'm going to stay passionate and I'm going to stay driven about getting them to end up liking me and liking the game and wanting to come back. And then last but not least, these things, um, we're already talking about growth mindset, but you have to have a growth mindset too, right? The goal cannot be, I need you to win. I need you to be good. I need you to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. And always winning doesn't exist, right? We have to have a growth mindset. And I don't just mean always growing. I mean, you need to understand that there's a seed right now. They're just a seed. They might not even have planted the seed yet, right? Your job needs to first be to plant the seed of volleyball is this great thing that you should be a part of. And I want to help you. I want to help create athletes that love the game that I love. So I need to plant that seed first. I need to be the first part of their life that they go, man, maybe I am interested in this volleyball thing. And then start to water that seed into, okay, I really like this sport. And then later, I love playing volleyball. Okay. So small, like we said, small wins. We need to be genuine. We need to have a growth mindset. If at any point they show the slightest push forward, we need to be ecstatic about that. We need to be super passionate and genuinely happy that they have grown just a little bit, right? Because the end goal is that they're growing, and the end goal is not that they're winning or that they're perfect. Okay? So, how do we do that? Again, in a different way. This is my order, okay? So, right off the bat, we need to set the standard, okay? Day one, we need them to know who's in charge, who's the boss, and what the rules and expectations are. You don't need to be scary. You don't need to, make them afraid. You don't need to be a hard ass. You just need to be stern. Hey, listen, we're going to have fun here, but before we start to have fun, I need you guys to understand my rules and my expectations, okay? Right off the bat, I got to stop saying right off the bat. When I'm talking to them, okay, listen, right off the bat, effort and communication are two things that you can do without me teaching them to you. You know how to talk. Your parents taught you when you were little kids how to talk. You know how to do it. Let's practice getting louder and better at it. I don't need you to be super loud off the bat, but dang, now I'm going to keep saying it because I said not to keep saying it. We don't need to be super loud and screaming and talking the entire time, but I need to see you trying to get louder. I need to see you trying to talk to your teammates. And over time, we'll get better at it. And I need you to give effort. No one needs to teach you how to give effort. You either want to try or you don't, okay? So we run, we hustle, we go for everything. We never give up. We're always giving full effort. Next thing is we need to shack balls. If there's balls, run all over the floor. We're not going to be able to practice and we want to get more reps. So please, after you hit a ball or you pass a ball or something happens, go hustle, go get that ball, bring it back to the ball cart, and we'll have no worries. Making mistakes, using a growth mindset. Now, this is huge, right? Because we need to create an environment that allows mistakes to happen. If I'm constantly getting upset when mistakes are being made, I'm going to create a mindset where they're losing, and then in return, that'll make them feel like they're going to lose again the next time. But if I teach you that making mistakes means you're growing, then you're going to think that your mistakes are a win. So instead of an error becoming something that makes you feel like you messed up and you lost, an error now becomes something that makes you feel like you've grown because you used it to learn something about how you can be better next time. And then last but not least, help someone up who has fallen. This is huge because it's very easy as a teammate to get upset when we lose a point or when somebody gets down on themselves, right? So we need to teach them, like, look, when someone has fallen, you pick them up. And I mean this physically and mentally. If your teammate falls on the floor, go up to them, pick them up, and say, don't worry about it. We got the next one, right? So we hit it on two fronts. You physically help them off the floor, which teaches your team that you have their back. And you also told them it's okay about that error that you just made, right? We're going to get the next one. They're probably feeling bad about themselves. So by you coming up and saying it's okay, right? Don't worries, we got the next one. You're relieving the reason why they were feeling upset in the first place. They messed up. They probably feel like they let their team down, they let themselves down, but you came up and said it's no worries. We got the next one. We'll make up for it in the future. We don't even have to worry about making up for it, okay? We got a lot of volleyball left to play. Let's just get this next point and we'll forget about that last point. All right? You got this. So, teaching them that it's not about winning or losing the point, but about pushing forward and growing and staying together and being good teammates, helping someone up who has fallen. Now that the standard's been set, everybody understands the rules. They know that I'm coach and I'm the one setting the stage. We now go into creating buy-in. So, creating buy-in, I don't know the timeline, right? Everyone's got a different timeline. I would like to just generically set that your first season is about creating buy-in. You want them to leave the year, win or lose, playing good or bad, wanting to come back. And if they come back because of how much fun they had year one, I'm sure you've already created the buy-in, right? They want to come back. They love the game enough to do a second season with you. We've had coaches where they're like, yeah, I don't want to come back to this club, right? That's not good because maybe they love the game, but they just didn't like your environment, and that's not good. We need to create teams where they end up loving the game, but also loving the way that you did it and wanting to be bought into you as well as your program as well as the sport. Okay. So how do we do that? We talked about some of these things already. If they win once, they're more likely to win again. So you need to be thinking about that as you're teaching. Are you getting upset when they mess up? If you are failing them. They're not going to want to win again, or they're not going to want to try again. They're going to feel like they're going to mess up again. Are you teaching them that if they win once, they're more likely to win again? Turn mistakes into wins. How do you do this? This just happened at the league this last Sunday. Coach Abby's team was playing a game against I don't know who, and the other team hit the ball into the donut, and the girl that was middle back, she dove and she went for this ball and she missed it completely, and the ball hit the floor. Now, the naked eye would probably just be like, "Ah, we lost the point," and show a discerning face, which makes all the players go, man, that ball hit the floor. I messed up. Darn it. While this player is on the floor diving for the ball. I immediately stopped the play and I looked at the girl and I was like, did you just dive for that ball? That was sick. And she started to smile. I turned something that she did that was a mistake, right? We're not even a mistake. We just didn't get the point. But I took the mind off of the bad and put a focus on the dude, that was awesome. You dove for that ball. We're not even teaching diving and you just dove. That shows me a level of commitment and effort that I haven't even asked of you yet. That was sick. Now you keep doing that a couple more times and we're going to get that ball up. So we flipped the script. She went from feeling sad to now I want to try to dive again the next time. Versus if I didn't say that, she might have just been like, why am I going to dive for it next time? I didn't get it the last time. What makes me think I'm going to get it the next time? Now instead her mindset is, man, when I dive, Coach Josh is going to give me props and I appreciate his props. They make me feel good. I want those props more. I'm going to keep diving until I get that ball, and then he's going to really give me big props. Okay? This is a big thing. They're kids. We are molding the way that they think as and how they're going to think as adults, right? We got to stop thinking that they have these developed minds because they somewhat do, but not completely. I also learned this with babies. It works. It works big time. I've had nephews and nieces where they when they would fall down, everybody kind of like, oh, and then the baby would see that everybody kind of had a bad reaction to it and start crying. And I was like, wait a minute, that baby didn't even start crying right away. The baby started crying when all the adults around them had a negative reaction to them falling. So then the next time my cousins had a kid, I'm like using them as science experiments. I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can change this kid's reaction to falling based off of how I react when they fall. So the next little kid that they had that was around me, the kid fell, and I went safe, and I did like a baseball referee, like crossing my arms, safe, and I like it was kind of funny to them. And when they fell, and I went safe, they started laughing. It's like, man, look at this. It wasn't the fact that they fell; it was the fact that the parents and the other adults in the room acting concerned scared the kid and made them cry about it. So just think about what that means when it comes to how we're reacting to their mistakes and their successes, and how we can then mold their reactions to their mistakes based off of our reactions. Next, show them how fun the game is. Obvious. I hope I don't have to explain to you how you should make volleyball fun and make it a good time, the way that some coach did to you, and which is why you're here still coaching. Make them feel happy to see you. Don't be a jerk, right? Don't make them, we know coaches that the girls talk about in other programs are like, man, I'm so afraid of that coach. I don't want to go to practice. I don't want to play for that person. They're mean. They're always yelling at me. I don't want to be there. Don't be that coach. Make them happy to see you. Make them someone that they care about. Make them feel like you're someone that they want to show up to practice to be around. And all in all included, create a culture that they want to be a part of. Same way they want to come and see you. Don't let the teammates hate each other. Don't let them not like each other. Create an environment where they want to be there, right? Just like the reason why we went to those haunted houses the other day. I want the players to want to be around each other. I want them to be like, man, remember when we were going to that haunted house and we were holding arms? Like we had players that were holding each other going through the haunted house that didn't even really know each other that well yet, but now they're a lot more connected, and they have that memory to where now they want to probably see each other again. Like, hey, you had my back through that haunted house and it was silly and we were falling on the floor and we were laughing at each other, but like you're somebody that I want to be around now. So creating that culture that people want to be a part of. Okay, now what do we do next? We set the standards, we've created buy-in, and now we get to kind of be the pushy coach that gets them to reach their potential, okay? But you can't do this once you've gotten them to love the game. Now they have buy-in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to leverage that love of the game for progress, okay? Now we can start to be like, let's become champions. You love the game? Really? You sure? Yes, coach. I love this game. I want to be so good at volleyball. I want to make varsity. I want to win a championship. Once you start to get them to say things like that, now you can use this to your advantage to push them and really change who they are as a volleyball player. You try to do this before, they don't buy in, they don't love the game, they stop showing up, okay? So we got to make sure they love the game first, and then we start to leverage love of the game for progress. How do we do that? We push them past their limits. If I know you can get the ball when I throw it over here, I'm going to throw it 1 foot further 10 times until you get it. And then eventually they get it. You push them past their limits until they reach new limits. Make things uncomfortable. Make them stressed out. Tougher games are going to be more stressful situations. Find ways to make them uncomfortable. Don't give them breaks between playing two balls. You got this one, no break. Here's the next one. Figure it out. Get the point. No time to stop. No time to rest. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And then last but not least, make them do hard things. Okay? This is huge. This goes back to the win once, more likely to win again thing. Okay? Conquering hard things equals believing you can conquer harder things later. Coach Hudai at Warren High School made me do things that I never wanted to do, and I always showed up like, man, I don't want to go to practice today. it's gonna be hard. But because I love the game, I woke up and I went at freaking 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, whatever it was, to go practice and get yelled at for doing something small, and then I end up having to do bear crawls and the frozen grass out front, crying because my hands are frozen, and end up doing it, right? As I'm doing it, I'm like, man, my hands hurt. I can't finish this. There's no way I'm going to finish this. And then eventually finishing it and going, wow, I didn't think I was going to finish that thing. And then I did. Fast forward to junior college, doing Viking miles up the freaking Long Beach City College bleachers. Freaking terrible experience. And year one, I'm doing these things. I'm like, man, there's no way I'm going to finish these things, right? I'm stopping halfway, having to throw up, and end up finishing it anyways. And I'm like, you know what? There's no way I'm going to be able to do 5 of these. Okay, well, I end up doing 5 of them by the end of the week and making the team by doing it. All right, what's after that? We have CrossFit training for now the whole off season. And I'm like, just like, oh my God, this is terrifying. This is so hard. I'm dying inside. My body feels terrible. I'm so exhausted. Every practice, I'm like trying not to throw up. And then by the end of it, I'm throwing up anyways. And this is just terrible, right? I mean, it was so bad. I needed to change my diet for sure, was the reason why I was getting sick every day. But by halfway through the season or halfway through the off season, I'm like feeling that feeling of throwing up. I'm like, just get it over with. You always feel better once you're done, and then move on, right? And then keep going, and then you're gonna finish because you know all it's stopping you is this feeling of being sick. So just get sick and then move on. You'll finish. So my mindset went from terrified to like, I can do this. I just need to get past this part of getting sick and then move on. And our coaches end up making us do harder and harder things, and like death rolls, just literally rolling and tumbling across the entire football field for 1,000 yards. Take that mindset. This is so hard, you know. But you know what? I've done harder things, and at one point I'm probably gonna feel sick. Just get up, throw up, and keep going, right? And I'm just sitting here now mentally tough. Like I can do hard things. I've done hard things, and watching people that haven't done it yet, terrified, like I can't do it, I can't do it, and just thinking, stop, you're gonna be fine. And like, man, that was me before, but now look at me now, right? Because I've conquered hard things, I believe I can conquer harder things later. And I still have that mindset today. Because I've done all those hard things, I think I can do big things. I can play in pro leagues with the biggest guys. I can make a volleyball club that can compete with the top clubs in Southern California, right? These are hard things, but I've done hard things, so I know I can do hard things later. So we need to make sure once we have buy-in, we are pushing them past their limits. We are making things uncomfortable, and we are making them do hard things so that they can believe they can do hard things later. You make them go through a workout that they don't believe that they can do, and then all of a sudden you do that enough times, we're in a championship match, baby. Hey, listen, we didn't do all those hard workouts for nothing. You did that, you could do this. Okay? So that's the goal. Once you create buy-in, is to leverage the love of the game for progress. All right? So again, this is how you win games. Not by focusing on winning games, but on focusing on the right things, which will in return have you win games. And you're going to lose games too, which is why it's important that that's not the goal. Because even when you lose, you can do some of these things. You can win, right? Winning isn't about getting 25 first. Winning to me is, did they learn life skills? Did they love the game? Did I create relationships that are going to outlive me? And did I make them feel like I was the best coach they had, right? Did I win over their hearts and their minds? Could I get them to push past their limits? Could I get them to do uncomfortable things? Uncomfortable things such as being down 6 points, the other team has 24, and you saying, I'm going to get 7 aces, I'm going to get 8 aces, and then losing anyways, and then it not being a big deal. Whatever, sure, I lost, which is a hard thing to do. Losing a championship is hard. Can you come back from it though? Do they believe it's not the end of the world to lose a game? That I just got to start working harder at practice. I got to get better so that the next time I'm in this moment, I can push past my limits and I can win again. I hope you guys enjoyed this section. I hope this means something to you. I hope you guys can use this again, ask me questions, and send me a summary of what you learned and what you're going to add to your game. See you guys next time.